Democrats are trying to come up with some angle on why Donald Trump is very bad and very mean. So Donald Trump did something deeply damaging to the Harris Walz campaign the other day. He pointed out that Kamala Harris was the last person in the room in the horrifying decision-making on Afghanistan, and that her decision-making got 13 Americans murdered at Abbey Gate in Afghanistan.
Using that topic at all is politicizing the death of U.S. soldiers and should be frowned upon. Of course, Donald Trump played a large part in this area of the world being even more destabilized. The plan that he negotiated was terrible for pulling out, and his moves in the region made pulling out even more difficult than it was going to be. The fact we were able to get out with 13 Americans dying, it's war. It's not good. That is a terrible thing. But attributing those deaths to the Biden admin or Kamala is very unserious, untrue, and anyone with proper facts about the situation would not blame them for that. And using it as a political thing is wild, especially when we know Donald Trump, his relationship with the U.S. military is at the best very ignorant and dumb, and at the worst very hateful and resentful. Talking about John McCain, oh, they only like him because he was captured. I prefer soldiers that weren't captured. He's only a hero because he was a prisoner of war. I don't like that. He got captured. He's weak. Even making that comment alone, and we can add in the 500 other comments made about service members, Donald Trump's disrespect of the military has been outrageous, man.
Absolutely true. That's precisely what happened. He went to Arlington National Cemetery. When he went to Arlington National Cemetery, he did so not only with the go-ahead, but with the desire of Gold Star families. So he showed up, he placed a wreath. The Gold Star families wanted him to do so, and there were pictures that were taken and then put out. This apparently is some sort of deep and abiding scandal. We are now being told by the media it is absolutely inappropriate for the former president of the United States to visit Arlington National Cemetery to pay homage to fallen American soldiers if there are cameras there.
No. Okay, Ben. Talk about facts and logic and being honest at all. This is a complete lie and misrepresentation of the entire topic. You cannot make it a campaign event. You cannot bring your own photographers in and your own videographers in to make it a campaign commercial or a campaign ad. And that's what Donald Trump did. And they had a physical altercation with those who were trying to uphold that respect and those rules. And by the way, the Trump campaign said it's ridiculous. Donald Trump didn't make that. He would never do that for an advertisement. And they literally put this up. It's, oh my, watch this.
We lost 13 great people. What a horrible day it was. We didn't lose one person in 18 months. And then they took over that disaster, the leaving of Afghanistan.
Also, talking about Americans dying in Afghanistan, more Americans would have died if we stayed. And also, Donald Trump's presidency saw more Americans die in Afghanistan, so I don't know why. That whole ad is like, I can't believe that's real. The fact they put it out so shamelessly, that is another example where they believe they can do literally anything, and no one will call them out for it.
Now again, throughout my political life, presidents have done this sort of thing. Barack Obama used to go and meet the caskets coming off planes to demonstrate how much he cared about the families. Joe Biden has gone to multiple cemeteries while president of the United States, and he has done so with political purposes in mind. Again, most recently, he did that, as you'll recall, when he actually visited the Ein Marne American Cemetery in June and insulted Donald Trump in the process. But apparently it's really bad when Donald Trump does that with the explicit permission of...
They did not use it to make a melodramatic campaign ad with that kind of music and with their own campaign partisan individuals who are like recording and producing that message. And I understand that that Trump was invited to this area, but that family alone cannot make the unilateral decision for every family who is represented in this memorial area. They cannot make a decision for all of them to be represented. Next to all these graves, that one family that invited Trump doesn't give them permission to desecrate all the other graves.
Of the Gold Star families involved. Here was CNN reporting on this. I mean, it's just, it boggles the mind. So the problem is not that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have not called one of these families. That's not a problem. We are told, by the way, again, Gold Star families have vented their frustrations. There's yet to be any accountability on this. During a press call hosted by the Trump campaign and the RNC, Cheryl Jules, aunt of Marine Corps Sergeant Nicole G., said history will repeat itself if the government cannot admit its failures. She said there's never even been condolences. They want to pretend it didn't happen. They want to take credit for ending the war, but don't want to take responsibility for how it went down. Mark Schmitz, father of Marine Corps Lance Corporal Jared Schmitz, emphasized one of the main goals is ensuring this never happens again. He said, we have to make sure that any Gold Star family is not left for 3 years just waiting for their child's name to be read by the leader of the country. So the big scandal here, of course, is that 13 American soldiers died in the worst foreign policy blunder of my lifetime, in which people were falling off wheel wells and American soldiers were getting blown up. An entire country that we spent 20 years investing in was handed over to the worst people on earth, along with hundreds of millions of dollars of American weaponry and machinery.
Hey, that whole plan was Donald Trump's plan, and now Donald Trump's plan went bad, so he is placing blame for all of these soldiers dying on Harris and Biden. And by the way, Biden did meet with some of the families, so that's not true. But I want to get to the JD Vance part.
Then none of the names of the dead are read by the administration. None of the families are reached out to by the administration. But the real problem is that Donald Trump paid attention to them and photos were taken. Listen to CNN's reporting here.
All right, this morning, new details on an altercation involving Donald Trump's team at Arlington National Cemetery. The incident happened while the former president was visiting Section 60, the burial site for recent U.S. casualties, during his visit on Monday. Trump's now suggesting on Truth Social that the problem stemmed from his campaign's use of photography. CNN's Elena Treen has more from Washington, D.C. There was some back and forth here about what happened from the park and the Trump campaign. What are you learning this morning?
Well, there's still a lot of details that are unclear here, Sarah, and we are still trying to learn more, get more information. But what is clear, and both sides agree on, is that there was some sort of incident. And you can see that where you saw that video of Donald Trump laying flowers at the burial site for some of these recent fallen soldiers, that's known as Section 60. That is really where some of this incident, we're told, has taken place.
It's kind of like those videos where they give money to the homeless, but they have cameras on, and if cameras were not watching, they would not be giving money to the homeless. And it's like, I'm doing this good thing only if my camera people can come in. If my campaign communication staff can come in and make an ad, I will do this. But if not, I don't want to do it, because Trump wouldn't be there, and that's probably why they forced their way in, because Trump wouldn't be there if he couldn't make it a political thing.
So it's all about whether Donald Trump adhered to the rules on photography. It's not about the 13 dead American soldiers who were entirely ignored. Well, Joe Biden's at the beach. Again, he's at the beach. He's still the president. I know we're supposed to pretend he's not the president anymore. He's still the president. He's at the beach. He said in open debate, troops did not die on his watch. He is a liar. It is his fault.
It's been proven that this was a private event, not open to everyone. It was not an official ceremony or anything. It's being used as a campaign prop, and tons of people I know in real life believe that Joe Biden said, I'm not going. Kamala said, I'm not going. And Trump said he is going, when in actuality, it was designed from the start to be a Donald Trump campaign ad.
And he's at the beach. Kamala Harris put out a statement about how we honor all the dead. Yeah, really? Do you? Because I noticed that you didn't call any of their families. That's one of the things I noticed. But the real problem is that Donald Trump went there and people took pictures. That is just terrible. And so we have Maggie Haberman, who puts out a piece all about the images at the grave and how it dismays the family of a Green Beret buried at Arlington. Okay, well, I noticed that a bunch of the other families are not dismayed. Quote, we would like to express our heartfelt thanks and appreciation to President Donald Trump for his presence at the recent Section 60 gathering, honoring our children and their fallen brothers and sisters. On the 3-year anniversary of the Abbey bombing, the president and his team conducted themselves with nothing but the utmost respect and dignity for all of our service members, including our beloved children. The statement was made on behalf of the families of Sergeant Taylor Hoover, Sergeant Nicole G., Purple Heart recipients, retired USMC Sergeant Taylor Vargas Andrews, and retired U.S. Marine Corps Corporal Kelsey Lanehart. The families added, quote, we had given our approval for President Trump's official videographer and photographer to attend the event, ensuring the sacred moments of remembrance were respectfully captured and so we can cherish these memories forever. We are deeply grateful to the president for taking the time to honor our children. But according to the media, Trump is bad for doing this.
They don't own the entire location. There are many people who are being respected and remembered in this area, and they don't own the entire place. And this entire event was not this service. It was designed by the family and by Trump and they crafted it in a way to use it for political purposes. This was crafted and carried out for those reasons. Trump doesn't just go and do this, obviously. He doesn't show any respect to the military unless if he can get political points for it. He literally said every single one of our serving generals is going to be fired and replaced with loyalists that would guarantee for him to be dictator, essentially. So it's so disingenuous to talk about this like...
The Biden-Harris administration
Like
is not bad and
this-
not responsible for what actually happened and not paying any attention to the families and ignoring them. And in fact, deliberately overlooking them. Donald Trump is bad for having visited Arlington National Cemetery and pictures were taken. Wow. JD Vance was pretty fired up about this yesterday. Here he was pointing out that these 13 brave Americans are dead because of Kamala Harris.
3 years ago, 13 brave, innocent Americans died, and they died because Kamala Harris refused to do her job, and there hasn't been a single investigation or a single firing. We're going to talk about a
Well, Kamala Harris is not in the official military chain of command, so that's not her job necessarily.
story out of those 13 brave, innocent Americans who lost their lives. It's that Kamala Harris is so asleep at the wheel that she won't even do an investigation into what happened, and she wants to yell at Donald Trump because he showed up. She can go to hell.
I saw this before, and you can tell JD Vance does not believe in what he's saying.
There
here.
hasn't been a single
the
investigation or a
hesitation.
single firing. We're going to talk about a station into what happened, and she wants to yell at Donald Trump because he showed up.
You can tell he doesn't believe it. I think he might feel guilty about saying this, and the way he rushes out the go to hell part.
She can go to hell.
Okay,
That's what happens when you have fake outrage.
By the way, people are angry at him for having said this. JD Vance served in the military. JD Vance did. He didn't lie about it like Tim Walz either. And this is that sort of passion. The media are trying to play that as though it's how could he say such a terrible thing? How could he say she can go to hell? How could he say such a thing? First of all, I mean, compare that to what they've been saying about Donald Trump for the last 10 years, and it's nothing. It doesn't even chart. But this apparently is unhinged. It's unhinged to say that if she ignores the dead American soldiers that her administration created, that somehow saying go to hell is like, wow, it's just terrible. By the way, the Biden-Harris administration has treated dead American soldiers with nothing but contempt, truly contempt. They won't even mention their names. They pretend this stuff doesn't even happen. You'll recall when Joe Biden literally checked his watch. Remember, he actually checked his watch during a ceremony honoring slain heroes. He checked, like those actual people, he was checking his watch multiple times during the event.
Yeah, we know he's really old, and checking your watch is not the proper thing to do there. But we're talking about a comparison to Donald Trump. And I already said what he said about McCain and all of the other remarks he made about the military and those who are in our military in general. It's laughable for anyone who is familiar at all with this. It's wild.
It's still, again, the single most disgusting failure.
Like, Trump can say how everyone who doesn't like Trump, he'll like, they deserve to die. John McCain, I prefer those who weren't captured. And Ben Shapiro will be like, but Joe Biden checked his watch once. Like, that's the worst you have to say is he glanced down at his watch. He glanced at his watch. Okay.